All right, as Lissa said, we have our afternoon panel, and as you can see, it's our women's panel. And we are going to basically do the same thing as this morning. These two lovely ladies are going to give us a little bit about their story of living with LHON. And our first speaker will be Lisa Mcgregor. She comes from Winnipeg, Canada, and she's been affected for just about 12 years. So go ahead and tell us your LHON story.
Thank you, Maria. Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Like Maria said, my name is Lisa Mcgregor, and I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. And it is truly an honor to be asked to speak at this LHON conference in regards to my life's journey living with LHON. My journey, like Maria said, started just over 12 years ago. I was an active 34-year-old mother and wife, had only been married 5 years at the time, had a 2.5-year-old son, a 12-year-old stepson, a full-time career working at an insurance company in which I had been for just over 13 years at the time. Life as I knew it was pretty good, until one day I started to lose my vision. With the support and determination of an amazing neuro-ophthalmologist by the name of Dr. Janine Johnston from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, who performed every medical test possible, CT scans, MRIs, bone marrow, spinal taps, plasmapheresis, you name the test, I had it. Unfortunately, every test kept coming back normal. So why at 34 years old was I losing my vision? In the province of Manitoba, where I'm from, in order to complete DNA testing, it would have taken anywhere from a year to 2 years to receive a diagnosis. My doctor knew at that time I didn't have that long to wait. She then took it upon herself to send my blood work off for DNA testing to the eye institution in the state of California, here in the United States of America, for DNA testing. Within a week and a half, I had my diagnosis. It was confirmed. I had LHON, or in other words, I was declared legally blind. My life, my family's life, changed in the blink of an eye forever. However, my role as a mother and a wife remained the same. I still had an obligation and a commitment to my family to somehow, some way, continue on. And yes, there was many days and times I wanted to give up and let LHON win. But I knew for the sake of my children and my family, I could not and would not. 2 years after being diagnosed with LHON, my world changed once more. Sorry, let me revert back. Sorry. I didn't have the assistance from our blind institution where I'm from. In a lot of ways, they let me down. I had the support of my family and my friends. I didn't have the technical aids or the mobility training, the support systems, the counseling, the in-classroom training. I had to teach myself. I taught myself how to cook, how to clean, how to take care of a home, but more importantly, how to raise a young family and how to take care of myself with very little vision. It wasn't easy, but I managed. 2 years after being diagnosed, my world changed again. My youngest son, the love of my life, started kindergarten. And I was faced with a question of what on earth was I going to do with all my free time while he was at school. It was then I decided it was time to take care of myself. I started to work out and exercise on a regular basis. I walked the dog on my own each and every day, and yes, where I'm from, even through blizzard-like conditions. I needed to prove to myself more than anything that LHON did not win or steal all of my independence away. I then became even more involved in my son's life. I started to volunteer in his kindergarten class 1 to 2 days a week, which eventually turned into 3 to 4 or more. It proved to myself that I still had a purpose and a will to continue on. Somehow, some way, I did it. Following that year of volunteering in my son's kindergarten class, I was then asked by the school vice principal if I'd be willing to take on teaching an English program to kindergarten students whose first language was not English. I did, and it was extremely successful. It proved to myself, and I believe many others, that I still had a will and a purpose to go on. Following that, I decided to become even more involved in the school. In fact, to the point where I was at the school the majority of the time, still keeping in mind my new full-time career position as a stay-at-home mom those jobs, tasks, and duties were completed each and every day. I became very active in the school to the point of joining the Parents Association and becoming the president of the Parents Association for 3 years running. When I started with this committee, it had a total of 6 members holding chair positions and attending monthly meetings. In my 3rd and final year as the acting president, our committee had grown to a total of 22 members holding chair positions and attending monthly meetings. On average, our committee had anywhere from 22 to 30 members that would eventually attend all of our monthly meetings. That was a huge accomplishment to myself. In fact, we were also presented an award by the province of Manitoba for the most outstanding achievement completed by a parents' association in a school year. That proved to me that was an experience and memory that I will take for life. Reflecting back over the past 12 years and to today, I've always been very active in both of my boys' lives, attending each and every sporting event, all of the parent-teacher interviews, the school Christmas concerts, band concerts, you name it, and the list will go on. And yes, perhaps there once was a day that I could see all of this a lot clearer than I can today, but the most important goal and lesson I hope I'm teaching my children and my family and friends is that no matter what disability one has, or obstacles or challenges that you're faced with, you can still go on. Sorry. There are still times, even after 12 years, of accepting and dealing and coping with this vision loss. That there are times I sit in those freezing cold hockey rinks, watching my son play hockey through my binoculars, that those tears of sorrow fall from my eyes, just knowing there once was a time that I could see my son clearly. But those tears of sorrow quickly turn into tears of happiness and joy, just knowing that I am still a part of my son's world and that he is the most important thing that I have in my life. I would like to take this opportunity at this time to just thank a few people that have helped me become who I am today. I would like to thank my husband and my children who could not be with me at this conference for their love and their support and continually pushing me and believing in me when I did not believe in myself. I would not be where I am or who I am today without that. Secondly, I would like to thank my mom, who is here at the conference with me today, and my stepdad, who is back home, for their unconditional love and support and never-ending assistance towards my family throughout this LHON journey. And I would also like to recognize my father and my stepmother for seeking out technical aids at the start of my vision loss. And last but certainly not least, I believe a person that should be strongly recognized here today is Lissa, for all that she has done for this LHON organization and community, and all that she continues to do. This past year, being involved with the LHON organization has shown me that the past 12 years, I really have not been alone, and that there are others out there, just like me, that truly do get this whole vision loss. My motto in life since I lost my vision still remains the same, and that is, do not ever take those little things in life for granted, because we never know what tomorrow will bring. I, as well as many others affected by LHON, are living proof of that statement. Stay strong and be positive, because somehow life does go on. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. I'm sitting here just mesmerized. Anyway, thank you, Lisa. That was wonderful, and I couldn't agree with more with everything as being a mom myself. Our next speaker is Candace Hanny, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe you've been affected for about 3.5 years? Mm-hmm. All right, and she is local. She is from, and I don't have the town name again. Say again. Leesburg, there it is, Virginia, so it's not too far from here. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Candace.
Hi, I am Candace Hanny, and I am 41, and my LHON story starts about 10 years ago when I had 4 children, 2 sets of twins, and at the time they were 10 and 1. So they're 10-year-old boys, and 1-year-old boy and a girl. And so my hands were very, very full at the time. So one day, my son, we were getting ready to go to, after school, we're getting ready to go to a Christmas party, and we said, get your homework done so we can leave. And he says, I can't see it. And we still would understand why, you're 10, and it's, usually you do it really well, and let's just go. So he says, I can't see it, and that's when we kind of knew something was a little off. But, there's twins, and there's 4 of them, and just have so much going on all the time, it's hard to slow down for, a little thing here and there. So we took him to a pediatric ophthalmologist, and if you know anything about 10-year-old twin boys, they are each other's sparring partners. And he goes in with a tiny bruise under his eye, and the doctor looked at me and said, well, how are things at home? And I said, oh, I get where you're going. Boys, go ahead, this is on you. So they had to explain that they got into, they were wrestling, and one gets a bruise, and this is the one who now has vision loss. So the doctor says, well, it should clear up in about 2 weeks. So we wait the 2 weeks, and it's still the same. So we go to another ophthalmologist, and he says, there's something going on. I don't know what it is. You're probably going to have spinal taps and the MRIs, and you're probably going to have to go to UCLA, and that's where you'll be diagnosed. Well, he was right. We did not have the spinal taps, but we did have an MRI, and we took him to a neuro-ophthalmologist who watched him from the other side of the room for about an hour and a half, and he told us he was faking. So then our next step was to go to UCLA, and where they actually did a blood test on the 10-year-old twins, and it came back with LHON. And that's when we were finally able to deal with what now. So what now was Braille in school for him. We had a wonderful Braille teacher, and cane travel and O&M, and we then continued on our lives like every other family. And just because he's now legally blind doesn't stop us or him. He still does everything else that we do. So fast forward to 2011, and my daughter and I, at the same time, around August of 2011, she starts complaining that she is having some eye issues, and that she needs to go see an eye doctor. So we make the appointment for her, and then at the same time, I'm saying, I think I'm ready for some age-related glasses, because it happens when you turn around 37, right? So, and it never, ever crossed my mind at all that it would be LHON for us, because LHON doesn't affect women, we're told, and because we're treating our son like he's, just another, like his normal's our normal, there's not much to do, so we didn't do any real more research. And so it never crossed our minds that we're now looking at being affected. So we take her, and by family says, she's got some LHON. It's LHON that is affecting her, and she has some minor vision loss. And then mine, as we're taking her to the doctors, is getting worse. And I am severely. I have some light perception, and that's about it. So mine went from basically, I think I could tell there was some little grainy going on in mine, to the end of October, basically Halloween is where I ended up, and that's how I am now. So our lives changed drastically then, when now we have 3 people in our house out of 6 who have vision loss, and it goes from severe to me to medium in my son, who now is 19, and pretty mild in my daughter, who is now 10. I'm in the process of getting training. I'm learning Braille. I'm completely dependent on my cane. I get around. I take the kids places. I do grocery shopping. I shop online. I get the groceries delivered. We walked to swim team practice every day last summer. That's about 3/4 of a mile from our house. That's probably about a mile now from our house. Cook, laundry, do everything. I had a hard time at first with the role that, you know, I because it was so severe. Getting around was hard. Outside of the house, I use my cane all the time, but inside my house, it was still trying to get used to. But I'm in a different place now where, you know, I do believe that there are definitely things that could have happened much worse than what happened. And it's not the end of the world. And, you know, I'm doing okay. And I don't, that's about it.
Thank you, Candace. I just, you know, Candace, I'm just going to say this now. Candace was the first mom that I spoke to after I was affected. It was only a couple months, and I put out on Facebook, help. I need to talk to a woman who gets it, who's a mom, the whole thing. Boom, right away, she messaged me and said, you call me, and gave me her number, and I did. And I think I talked nonstop straight for 45 minutes. You know, just like, and she's like, I get it. And I tell you, I'll never forget that phone call, because that is what this support in this community is all about. And it's finding other people that you know you can call, pick up the phone and talk to. Mm-hmm. Lisa and I talk quite a bit too from Canada, and it's those good days, bad days, or those hard mom days, or we gave each other ideas. Like Candace said, you know, her kids want to go for ice cream. She called up Uber and took her kids for ice cream in Uber and back, and it was $7. I'm like, best $7 ever. Absolutely. You know, I mean, awesome, right? So she found a way to get around that. So anyway, I want to open up the floor for any more questions for any of us ladies, including myself, since I'm a woman too. So I'm up here, and if you don't know, I was diagnosed at the age of 49. So, you know, talk about late onset, you know, I'm right there. So does anybody have any questions for the ladies?
Obviously, there wasn't any environmental triggers like smoking and drinking in the children. So what do you think there was? Because I don't really believe in that environmental factor.
Candace.
I had a tetanus shot about 2 months before, and I really strongly think that had something to do with mine. I don't know for my 10-year-old son, because we had moved into a new house. Well, it was a year before. We'd been in a house. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, it was a year. And nothing out of the ordinary. And my daughter, having her affected at the same time as me, was quite bizarre, I think. I'm not sure. And I just really think that something had to do with my tetanus shot. I felt.
Anybody else?
So it seems sometimes when women present to the doctor with medical concerns, they're kind of brushed under the table, told it's all in their head, you know, don't worry about it. I was just wondering if you had any experiences where you kind of weren't believed the first time, and how you kind of coped with that and advocated for you or your family.
I'll start with that,
I'll
Candace.
start? Or do you want me to start?
You can start.
I'll start. Probably the wrong question to ask me, but yeah, I was first, when I thought there was vision loss, it was all in my head because every test kept coming back normal. So why was this happening then, right? Then it was MS and you name it. There wasn't really anything, there wasn't any proof because women didn't fit into the category. I wasn't male and I wasn't French Canadian. I fell into the age category at that time. I am the first LHON patient of my neuro-ophthalmologist where I'm from. There's now 6 other people from where I'm from that do have it. Our genetics department where I'm from, I have to say, no disrespect to genetic testing, were awful to me. You know, when I was confronted about wanting to know if my son had the gene, because I didn't know anything about it. I said, of course I want to know. Have I passed this on to my son? And when I found out I did, of course, like any natural human being, mother, my first reaction was to cry. And how do I fix this? How do I make it better for him? Well, I can't, right, as we all know. And the genetic counselor or medical testing, they were awful towards me. They basically told me I was an awful mother to even think thoughts like that. You know, I sat in that medical room with my husband crying. And I was sort of pushed off, but 2 days later, I did receive a call from the genetics department apologizing. And she said, I have a son around your age, and I'm a mom. I get why you're upset. So as far as that, yeah, I think it was sort of pushed aside because where I'm from, it was something that was new. But maybe it's different in other states or countries, I'm not sure.
I just think mine was so severe and so sudden, I mean, over a couple of months. I first thought to myself that, oh, it was just the eyeglass time, but no, they had to take me seriously. I couldn't, I was bound to an elbow, basically, which I didn't even understand, but no, not in my head. I don't, and as far as coping, that's a whole other area that it took a while. My safe couch was there for me for a while, and then until I, kind of grieved quite a bit. Grieved as a mom whose daughter lost vision, grieved as a mom whose son lost vision 10 years before, and finally understood what some of it felt like. And losing, I felt like I lost my role as a mom and a wife and a woman. And so getting all that back as fast as I could meant a lot to me. And, of course, I had a great family. But we weren't close at the time geographically. In fact, we weren't close geographically to any of our extended family, but, I had a great husband who, sat with me and, just said, I can't believe this is happening to you and us. And that's really a big deal. It helped a lot just to hear that. And then it helped a lot for me to be able to relate to other women who have gone through vision loss and other moms who, could run their ship. And, it's like even every time I would talk to, Maria or other women like Maria or anybody that I could relate to really, really helped to put everything back into perspective.
When I was coming, affected onset, went through all the usual, everyone's same story as me. And we got to a neuro-ophthalmologist, and he tested me for everything under the sun. And he goes, I'm going to throw in this other test. You don't have it, but I'm going to throw it in anyway. So we know what test that was. So, but he thought, well, just maybe. At least he was willing and he knew about it. So every test came back, and we're waiting for the LHON test, and then that came back positive. And he was just as shocked as, of course, I was, that actually I was, affected because of the usual mold, which is the younger males. So, but he's an awesome doctor, and he, absolutely has wonderful chairside manner, and he helped me through it a lot in that first year. So anyway, any other questions?
Yes. I'm sorry I didn't ask this of the male panels in the morning, but frankly, it's the kind of question that would never occur to you until you've heard both. I'd be interested in your observations on the difference in the personal psychology or their personal experience of going through this, you as females as opposed to males.
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
That's a loaded question. I'll kick it off by saying, being diagnosed as an older female, and especially if you have a family, and all of a sudden the mom of the house is now legally blind, and like the others, we are carrying the role of taking care of the kids and running around to school and doing all those extra things and doctor's appointments and groceries and all that kind of stuff. And boom, that comes to a screaming halt. And you're devastated. You're absolutely devastated. That you question yourself, how could I be a good mom? How am I going to do this? And it's a very slow process to get out of. And well as, I've passed it to my kids, that kind of thing too. But it's a slow process to get through back into the world of, I think I can be a good mom. I think I can do this. I think I can do this. So I'm speaking for myself. It's psychologically very difficult because we're playing so many roles, I think. And just even to be, our own self, let alone be there for our families too. Candace, what would you say?
I think I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
I think a woman, a female having this and a male having it, or the roles, it affects them very differently. I think that, I'm going to sound really vain, and I'm not a vain person, so I'm really not, but a young man between ages of 15 and 35, okay, he doesn't want to look in a mirror as many times as a female does. I want to be able to see if the gray hair is coming through, and I want to be able to see what color lipstick I'm putting on, and how much blush I'm putting on, and you guys don't. I want to wrap the Christmas presents and see what color of Christmas paper I have, and see that lines up. I don't know if guys worry about what color tissue paper they put in the presents and things like that. But I'm not sure guys cook as much as I used to love to cook. So I just think there's so many different little things that are part of women's life that aren't a part of men's life. And like I said, without sounding vain, people don't think about it. It's just little things like that that frustrate me personally, that maybe don't frustrate men in the same way.
So I want to comment on that. So I agree with all those, the makeup, and I do my own makeup, and mascara, and I'm not going to go into everything I do, but, hot rollers in the hair still, and I have great friends who say, we go shopping together, because we would go shopping anyway, and cooking, well now, I did most of the cooking. I did all the cooking before, because that was my break from the 4 kids, and my husband was great with, he took the, then he was, kid time with him, and so now we cook more together, but, I still do the majority, the meal planning and stuff, but, and, Christmas wrapping, I wrap some, but it's different. It's not quite the same, but, the normal for me has changed, and I've adjusted pretty well to my new normal, and as far as the males, I would think that they struggle about different actual family caretaking as far as if they're the ones. I was a stay-at-home mom when I lost my vision, and they're the ones out working, and if they were 35, I know there was a few that had the small children and under 35, and they the financial part of it has to be overwhelmingly stressful, losing the vision and not knowing if they were able to keep their job or how they could, and something that I luckily at the time didn't have to worry about. Yeah.
And it seems like there's something every day, every other day, and I just feel that with vision loss, especially unexpected vision loss, that you're going to be adjusting pretty much the rest of your life. You're going to be adjusting because different things will come up daily or weekly or whatever it is that you have to make an adjustment for. And there are things that you don't even think about, wrapping gifts, things like that, looking in a mirror. those days are over. Matthew, do whatever you want. And, it's just over. And I tell the gal who does my hair, I go, make me look good because I'll tell everyone, but make me look bad and I'm still going to tell everyone. So, we rely a lot on our friends. And, and again, as mothers, kind of a different role when we got affected. We were in a different place in our life, more so than the younger males. And so it's a totally different world. Okay. Question to the back?
So I just have a quick question. Based on the fact that you were affected so quickly, do you look back now on any family hereditary situations where anyone else in your family's had it?
No, so when my son lost his vision, we just said, oh, no, we're that family that nobody else has been affected. And when I lost my vision, my sister joined Ancestry.com and found, through that and Facebook, really, really did an amazing job finding other family members, like my mother's, sisters, daughters, sisters, and down there we have found several in the family now. None that we would have ever had any association with because they were just so far removed, but
As far as myself, just recently found out in the last few years that my mom's brother, my uncle, apparently when he was young, lost his vision, but they didn't know why. And of course, this is 80 some odd years ago, so there was probably no research regarding LHON. Well, I know there wasn't. But he did regain all of his sight back. So whether or not it had to do with that, who knows? As far as anybody else being affected, I'm the only one. And I thought at first I was the only token Canadian coming, but I have some other token Canadian friends back there, so I'm glad.
And as far as my family, we don't know of anybody else in the family. I was the first one to show the effect. So, but it's a good thing because now our families do know, and now they can, protect themselves the best they can as well. So I want to thank our women panel here, Candace and Lisa. Thank you so much for coming up here.